What's up, Bills Mafia? This is Ray DeLucci. Welcome back to the Stray Buffalo podcast. What a week. Training camp is officially underway. A lot of storylines going on. Looking forward to Hard Knocks, looking forward to the TV show. Also, just looking towards kind of what's coming up within the Buffalo Bills schedule. We got preseason starting soon. Got a lot of moves, a lot of different things going on. So I wanted to start out, though, with a little bit of a rant. Um, if you follow me at all, you probably follow me on TikTok. You'll know that I am very bullish on posting often. Obviously, I'm a giant Bills fan. I have the utmost faith that we're going to win a Super Bowl this year. I think Josh Allen is the answer and that he's going to get us over the hump. But one thing I think is funny or important to share is this idea of being a fan. I get a lot of comments, oh, the Bills fans are the new Cowboy fans, or I get a lot of comments, you guys say this every year. Every year the Bills are going to win something, or every year Josh Allen is going to take you to the Super Bowl. And I just want to say that like this fandom that I share with you all didn't start with Josh. My Bills fandom started when I was like 5 years old. Football was the first sport I ever really watched. I watched it with my grandfather. I watched it with my dad. I watched it with my family. We'd go to church. Me and my mom and my sister would go to Aldi after, do grocery shopping, and then we'd be on the couch ready for a 1 p.m. game for the Buffalo Bills. And the love of the Buffalo Bills has continued throughout my life since I was a kid. It's been a constant. It's been something I've been proud of. And I have like Facebook memories from like 12, 13 years ago during our playoff drought where I would say, this is it. This is our year. The Bills are going to win the Super Bowl. I've loved this team since I was a kid. I love the Sabres too, but the Bills have always been really, really special to me. If you ask any of my friends or anyone that knows me, they will tell you how big of a Bills fan I am. So, that being said, it's very important for me to share that like the fandom I have didn't start with Josh. He's been incredible. He's been one of the greatest joys as a Bills fan to watch. But my fandom started at a very young age, and I will always root for the Bills. If we were in last place in the league, I would root for us. If we had like the worst quarterback in the world, I'd root for us. If we hadn't seen the playoffs in 17 years like we have previously, I would still be rooting for us because the Bills to me are like they're a way of life. It's a way of appreciating the sport. It's a way of appreciating the community, the Bills Mafia, all of you that listen and follow along. Um, and I shared a TikTok and it got some commentary and some traction, but I just think that the reason why the Bills Mafia is such an important and special fan base is because we don't back down when things are tough and we don't take for granted the greatness we have and the fun we have. Of course, it would be amazing to see the Bills win the Super Bowl, to go see them have success, to go bring home a trophy to the city that desperately needs Lombardi, a Stanley Cup. Shout out the Bandits, obviously, but a really important championship to the city. But what makes us stick through it is our fandom, is our choice to be Bills fans, is our choice to rep the blue and the red, to rep this Buffalo here on my chest, and to go every week into a game with bright eyes and a lot of hope, and hoping we come out the victor. And every season going in, cheering and supporting the team. And this is where I think a lot of other fan bases are just soft. They're not the same. This is why we're Bills Mafia. This is why we are who we are. Other fan bases, they ride the wave. They're fans, and then when things get rough, they aren't fans, and they don't follow along, and they don't watch. Not us. Not me, at least. I was watching every game, even when they were awful, even when they sucked, even when, nothing could go right for us. And so many of those years where we ended like 7-9, like still watched, still participated, still focused. If there was ever a chance for us to make the playoffs, I was bought in. And if there wasn't a chance, I was just watching. And it's why when we finally made the playoffs, it was so special. I still remember where I was when the Bills made the playoffs. We were in my living room. My grandmother was living with us at the time, and I remember watching the famous Bengals play where Dalton throws it to his receiver and he runs it in for a touchdown. I remember just tears filling my eyes, and my grandma was there, my family was there, and just seeing that moment, us finally make the playoffs, like that is one of the most special moments. And I'm sure when we win the Super Bowl, it'll be even more emotional. But that emotion comes from the hardship and suffering of watching your team fail year after year to even make the playoffs, watching them fail to be successful. And so what makes this period of Bills fandom of Bills history so important is the fun we're having is due to the hardship, the suffering, the constant failure, the constant loss that the Bills organization had from the late 90s to the Josh Allen era. And so when people say, oh, like you guys say it's going to be your year every year, you guys are coming in with such hope and pride. Yeah, we've been through a lot. We stuck with our team through a lot, and now we're having a lot of success. And that's what's so important. And again, like, I don't get if you're a fan of another football team, if you're a part of another city's football team, and you're a fan, if you're not supporting your team, rooting them on, like, I think you're soft. You're soft. You're a soft fan base. Because the whole point is every year, okay, like the slate is clean. Let's get rid of what happened last year and let's go for the championship. Let's go for success. Let's support our team to do that. And if you're a part of a fan base and you're not doing that, like, what's the point? Why are you watching the sport? Like, it's not, I don't get it. I don't get it. The bandwagonness of being a fan. So that's just a little rant. Like, yeah, we are very proud as a fan base to be following the Bills. We are very proud of what they are accomplishing with Josh, and we know that there's a lot of work to do. But even if they were awful, even if for any reason the season goes down, I'll still watch every game. I'll still be commentating. I'll still be talking. Will I have my complaints? Will my heart get broken at the end of the season? Maybe, possibly, likely, if history shows. Could happen, 2 days after, I'll be listening to the Brandon Beane press conference and just in my head wondering what we're going to do to be better the next year like I do every year. It's part of being a Bills fan. It's part of being a part of Bills Mafia. And to just have that faith that we're going to win, that we're going to move forward, that's what's important. So that people commenting and saying, like, and it's funny to me because it's like, what are you doing not supporting your team like I'm supporting mine? The Bills logo, this is what I love. I love to watch football every year. I love to support the team. It's part of my identity. It's part of who I am. And if you're not like this, if you're not supporting your team, like what part of a fandom are you? That's the fun of it. It's escapism. It lets you go to have something to look forward to every week during a crazy time in the world. And being a Bills fan, I'm very lucky to be a part of it. So go Bills on that front. Let's get into the podcast. All right. Let's talk about this Hard Knocks trailer. Gave me chills. I think I was reading on some blogs about how Hard Knocks often goes into places where the teams are struggling. They're struggling to find their identity. They're struggling with a new coach. They're struggling with a new quarterback or a new set of skill players. But this Hard Knocks felt very different. This training camp, it's going to be premiering on August 5th on HBO Max. Cannot wait till it gets here. And this coverage of Hard Knocks is going to be focused on the Bills, focusing on their, attempt to win a Super Bowl, focusing on their attempt to get to that next level as a team, as a franchise. And, looking at the trailer, it was just like the goal is to hang a banner back in Western New York. It's to bring a Lombardi home. They had Josh saying that. They had Sean McDermott saying that. They had a lot of different talking points regarding the team and the mindset. And whereas other Hard Knocks, I think we've seen a lot of like frustration and a lot of different aspects of a team that led to their downfall or just showed why they're in the position they are. I truly think this Hard Knocks is going to showcase why, A, Josh is such a good leader, B, why the organization was built so well by McDermott and Beane, and C, why this team is probably the most primed they've ever been to go out and chase a Super Bowl. Watching this trailer, I think it's going to be interesting to see the camp battles. That's what I'm excited about. One on my radar is Tre'Davious White. He's 30, he has injury history, but apparently he's out here really taking that number one spot seriously, really showing up in training camp, really battling to get that number one spot back. You see someone like Keon. How is he progressing? I'm recording this on Sunday, day 4 of training camp. We're going to get into it, but apparently, from reports, he had a few rough moments apparently in the first few days of camp, but now he's back out there, and he's today apparently he kind of stole the show. So I'm very excited to watch what Hard Knocks does. I've seen them on site recording in a couple of different locations through some social media accounts I follow. I think Buffalo Closet was one of them, or My Cousin Vintage is the storefront. So it'll be interesting to see. But what I think, and I'm most excited for with Hard Knocks, and I'll be doing episodic breakdowns throughout the week as they come out. well, what I'm most excited for is to watch how this organization is built, how the culture that McDermott and Bean have built, and to see it live in action through the day-to-day battles of training camp. I think it's going to be something that's really interesting to see, and I hope we get some pretty good insights into it. All right, so let's look at James Cook. So James Cook, there was a lot of conversation. Is he going to show up to camp? He's asking for a lot of money. Is he going to sit out? And lo and behold, he showed up. And a good sign is he posted on his Instagram today about his work, about him working with the Buffalo Bills. Um, you know, he talked in detail in a press conference, basically saying, "Look, I know what I'm worth. He deserves what he wants, and he said things are going to eventually happen." I don't know what will happen with him. I really don't. I do, he said he wants to retire in Buffalo. He says he loves the quarterback. He loves the community. He loves the fans. And for me, I think, I believe him when he says that. I do think he's genuine. But I also understand that getting your money and getting what you think you're owed also is a big driver in how a lot of athletes conduct themselves. And I don't look negatively on him on that. Do I think that, this is just an outsider's podcaster's perspective, but is he probably in the best situation to win a championship here over anyone else? Probably, likely. I think him and Josh really complement each other. I think we've built up a great organization. We've been to success. I mean, look at Stephon Diggs. He had a great opportunity here. He decided to go elsewhere. He decided he wanted more money. He decided he didn't fit in with our culture. He's on the Patriots, which I hate the Patriots as a rival, but I think Drake May is interesting. I think Vrabel's interesting, but he's not anywhere closer to. He's much farther away from getting to a championship than we are. He is fully participating in camp, and he has shown very much a high workload, very fast, consistent snaps, good production. There's been reports of some longer breakout runs, so it just seems that. His performance in camp and how he performs this season, I think he's really, in my opinion, I think he's taking this as, all right, you guys don't think I'm worth it? Let me prove it to you. And if I'm not proving it to you, I'm going to prove it to others. And so that's what I think James Cook's mindset is going into this season. I think he understands it's a very important year for him. And if he plays well and he goes out there and does the best and is a top 5 back, he can either get that contract here or elsewhere. Would I love it to be here? Of course. I think James Cook is an outstanding player. I personally think our fan base underrates him. I think he is a key to this offense. We've talked about it for years, how we need a solid running game with him and Ray Davis and Ty Johnson. I think they're a really good unit. And I think fans forget easily that, we've been looking for a running back like James Cook. Everyone says Josh will make it work, but I think a big reason why Josh was able to spread the ball out so well last year is because James Cook had such a dominant performance as a running back in both the rushing and passing game. And if he's not doing that, then I think it makes Josh's life that much harder. So I do think he's a key part of our success if we're going to keep being successful as a balanced offense moving forward. So I say, pay the man obviously what we can, pay him what he's worth. He might ask for more. That's the market. He's going to set the market maybe, not like highest paid, but his own market based on how he plays. And if Buffalo can't meet that, it would be a shame if he goes elsewhere. Do I think we should overpay for him egregiously? No, of course not. Do I think, though, that there's a lot of tangible benefit for him to have a great season and to keep him on, especially if, heaven forbid, we get to a Super Bowl with him on the roster, then yeah, we should probably keep that dude if he's a key part of our success. So that's my thoughts on it. I don't have any blistering hot takes. I understand the Bills side, I understand his side, and I don't like the idea that fans just go, they kind of just crap on him oh, he's overrated. We don't need a running back. You don't pay running backs. Look, whatever we can pay to win the Super Bowl is what we should be paying, regardless of what we feel they're going to be like in 5 to 10 years. So just my thoughts. I'm glad he showed up to camp and is putting his all into it. I think hopefully he's got the right mindset going into this. All right. Some observations from Bill's training camp. So like I said, cornerback competition between veterans and rookies. You have you have Benford, you have Hairston, but you also have Trey White, and apparently Trey White's been doing really well. There's been a lot of reports of him being able to keep up with the younger guys. He's currently, I believe, still in that number one spot or playing like first team in camp. And I don't really know what to make of Trey White. Like he's had these back-to-back injuries. This is the first offseason where he's not nursing an injury. He's only 30 years old, which I know is a little bit older in terms of NFL players, but if he's done that work and if he can come back, if he can get focused, if he can still be as dynamic as he used to be, I see no reason why he couldn't go after that number one spot while the younger guys on the defense learn under him and help him out. I think another thing that was cool to see was you saw that clip over the week of Dion and Trey reuniting. I mean, it was just so cool to see, and I just love that he's back. One of my favorite players when I first got into sports cards collecting, he was one of my first cards that I have. I think he's a great dude. I think he's really talented. It's unfortunate that injuries have, cost him so much. I think of him, I think of Milano as guys that are super talented. If only the injuries would kind of stop inhibiting them from being their best. And I really, I'm pumped for him and I'm pumped for our defense that he's back. Seems like the wide receiver group is doing well. Tyrell Shavers did go out today. It appears he suffered a lower leg injury. Reports are that he went up to catch the ball and he just came back down and landed on it weird. The card had to come out. Really sucks. I really was excited to see him play this year. He's a second-year wide receiver. He didn't get any real meaningful time last year. I think it'd be great to see him on the field. It's such a blow, especially when you're so young in your career and you feel like you can prove yourself. Unfortunately, those fractures take time to heal, and I think that it's going to be a little bit of time before we see him. Maybe not till next year. Nothing but the best for him. I hope he heals quickly. I hope he recovers quickly. And I hope he gets back on the bandwagon and is back with the team practicing next year. So keep an eye out for that. I think it's important. It really does suck to have that happen so early in the season. Some other highlights. Joey Bosa has been easing into the workload. He had some off-season lingering injuries, but he is getting some early reps. I think they're going to be using him in a very limited fashion until the playoffs. I could see Joey Bosa getting enough reps to be meaningful, getting enough reps to be a threat, but not on the field all the time. We really did beef up our defensive line. There's a lot of good defensive line acquisitions over the offseason. So I'm hoping that, it's done in a way where, he can kind of ease back into it and get to the point where he's, helping out, having those like third down plays or whatnot, but isn't too overburdened where he's going to get injured. The Buffalo News put out a great article. This was Lance Lazowski. He put it out today. Basically, the article says, as padded practices begin, the Bills need immediate impact from rookie defensive linemen. He goes on to say that, and writes in here that Coach Sean McDermott could sense a collective anxiousness from the Bills rookies as they listened to his opening remarks at the start of training camp. Although the entire 91-man roster heard McDermott's overarching message, the sage words of advice were especially important for the first-year draft picks and undrafted free agents. And McDermott shared that the biggest thing they've got to know is they have what it takes. If you don't believe that, it's never going to work. Maxwell Hairston, for example, the author shouts out that he's competing with Trey White to start at cornerback. And then, fifth round tight end Jackson Hawes is seeing some time because of Dawson Knox's injury. And that basically the Bills' depth will be challenged while defensive linemen Michael Hoyt and Larry Ogunjobi serve their 6-game suspensions at the start of the season. So we have Rousseau, Oliver, Daquan Jones, and AJ Epinesa. And then we also have Joey Bosa. But they do need more trusted linemen to be rotated in, writes the author, and I agree. I think I'm very bullish that Rousseau is going to have a big year. Oliver's been doing great. I think Jones, is primed. Epinesa was solid last year. I have faith in Joey Bosa. So we need our draft picks to really step up, and we put a lot into the defensive line. And you think about it, 6 games in, so we're getting close to midseason. Then we get Hoyt and Ogunjobi back. I think it's going to be great. It's going to be a big test, though, having Baltimore week 1 on Sunday Night Football. So the author goes on to say the Bills drafted defensive tackle T.J. Sanders and edge rusher Landon Jackson and defensive tackle Deion Walker. The trio has practiced mainly with second-team defense, and it's most difficult to test what will happen when they end up going to the first padded practice on Monday, which is going to be a big turning point for the Bills. So we'll see what happens. Beyond that, though, he goes on to say how each rookie can make an impact. Uh, you know, I think that out of everything, though, it's been really great to see um, just the battle. I think the battle that it has with the team, within the team, within the defense. But I think what is going to be interesting to watch on padded practice is who starts to make noise because I do think that the Bills are going to put up whoever is best. We obviously went in and drafted these guys for a reason. They're out there to prove it. So let's see how they do. Another thing that I thought was interesting, uh, Ryan O'Halloran from the Bills posted this as well. So Jamarcus Ingram apparently has been doing pretty well. He wanted to go in and make a turnover, and he intercepted a pass by quarterback Mike White that was intended for Zach Davidson. Um, Ingram, I thought last year was really good. I thought he had flashes of being a pretty consistent player. I really hope this year that he pushes it out as well. I think one big thing, the attendance report caught my eye. So linebacker Terrell Bernard was out with a little bit of a hamstring injury. Curtis Samuel out with a hamstring. Dorian Williams right calf, but out of the walking boot, which was great. Teron Johnson took the day off. Dawson Knox remains on the non-football injury list, along with Spencer Brown, which is kind of concerning. And then Cedric Van Granger was out with the calf, and then Laviska Shenault, who I think is going to be a pretty solid return man, was out with the lower leg, and they were on the physically unable to perform list. And during practice, Tyrell Shavers, like we said, right ankle in the final play of the practice. And receiver Elijah Moore had some general leg soreness, and Caden Prather had an upper left leg injury and did not complete practice. Other highlights from the Buffalo News: quarterback Josh Allen was going up at 7-on-7, and linebacker Shaq Thompson broke up a pass that was intercepted by linebacker Balin Spector. Allen was 6 of 7 during his lone segment. And on 11-on-11, Cam Lewis blitzed in, breaking up a pass intended for running back Ray Davis, and defensive end Greg Rousseau stopped the rush by running back James Cook. And then note on Allen, he lofted a perfect pass down the right sideline to Keon Coleman, who was covered well by the rookie cornerback Dorian Strong. There was a harrowing moment when tight end Dalton Kincaid, Matt Milano, and Christian Benford collided and fell to the turf. All players were fine, and Ed Oliver aborted a play that would be a would-be sack. So with everything going on, pads coming up, it'll be interesting to see how this Bills roster's headed up. They're heading into the padded practice, how they all compete with each other. I think it's funny to, as I was reading that, just thinking Josh Allen, the best quarterback in the league, 6 for 7, knows his guys. What energy? That's what I'm excited to see too. How do you go out and practice against a guy like Josh Allen, who's so good, who's the reigning MVP? How he keeps getting better? How does he keep getting better? How does he better the guys around them? Because if you're at practice and your quarterback competition is Josh Allen, you would have to think you could be pretty good against a lot of the other QBs in the league. So just a funny thought as we go through there. All right. What else are we going to talk about today? Real quick, the Justin Fields injury. So I get it. The Jets are supposed to hate them. I feel bad for Jets fans. I really, really do. As a fan of the Sabres, I think we're both tied right now, the Buffalo Sabres and the New York Jets, for a playoff drought length. So as a fan of the Sabres, I empathize with Jets fans. I know there are rivals, whatnot. Never want to see anyone get hurt. I live in Illinois, near a lot of Bears fans, so I actually really do like Justin Fields. So to see that he got hurt sucked. But update, so he suffered a dislocated right toe, and he is actually listed day-to-day, so not as bad as they thought, and he could be back a lot quicker than we think. By Saturday, I guess he returned to QB drills, but he did hold out a full team reps. And Coach Aaron Glenn emphasized that his fourth day type practice is mentally critical, and Fields' limited return was encouraging. So it seems like basically that he's on day-to-day status. He was very limited, but it wasn't anything too crazy. So I don't ever wish injury on another player. I want Justin Fields on the field if he's their QB1 or meant to be their QB1 when we play the Jets, and I want them to bring their best against us. So hopefully he's on the recovery and that we see him on the field for the start of the season. Jets fans, man, you guys, I thought the Bills fans, I thought we're cursed. We're cursed in our own special way. I mean, you can't really undo the 0-4 Super Bowl curse. You can't really undo the 17-year drought, but you guys are getting there, and it's depressing to see. And I feel as a Sabres fan, it's tough to watch a team you love miss the playoffs and do so poorly for so long. But hey, I'm sorry to hear it. Best of luck to Justin. All right. Last topic coming out of the sports world news. The Buffalo Sabres released the 2025-2026 schedule. Their home opener is October 9th against the New York Rangers. And then, they have their longest road trip is a 6-game, 12-day swing in early December. They do have a 3-week break for the Olympic Games, and they'll resume in New Jersey. So, what thoughts on the Sabres schedule? It seems like they have a decent start, as reported on by the Buffalo News. It seems like they could have some opportunities, you know, going into the beginning of the season, and I think it's going to be critical on how they start as every year. I look back to what was it 2 years ago where we missed the playoffs by like 2 points. I think it's really important that the Sabres start up strong. I'm looking to cover them. You know, I really don't know. It's so hard. It's so sad watching the Buffalo Sabres play and have these issues. But from what the news shares and what the Athletic shares, is like we have a pretty favorable schedule. I'm hoping that we hit the ground or hit the ice skating really fast and hit the ground running. That they do really well in the beginning of the season. Because man, I would love to see some success for the Buffalo Sabres. See them. Kind of move forward and find some success on the ice. I think that if they get a really good start, it could lead to good things. I think the Sabres core, I mean, they're really much thrive on the vibe of the day, or they are affected by the vibe of the day. I think one thing that's super interesting too is the lineup. I thought this was cool that the Buffalo Sabres, or the Buffalo News had a Sabres lineup going into the season. And so, if you look at the forwards pairing, they have the top line as Jason Zucker, Josh Norris, and Tage Thompson. Second line is Zach Benson, Yuri Kulik, and Alex Tuck. Third line is Josh Doan, Ryan McLeod, and Jack Quinn. And then fourth line is Jordan Greenway, Peyton Krebs, and Justin Danforth. And then for the defensive line pairings, they have top pairing is Bowen Byram and Rasmus Dahlin. Second is Owen Power and Michael Kesselring. Third is Matthias Samuelsson and Connor Timmins. And then the seventh defenseman is Zach Jones and Ryan Johnson. And then they do have Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen starting with Alex Leon as the backup. Question mark is going to be obviously Luukkonen's job security. It's his to lose. We'll see if he does. And then obviously looking at Devin Levi's progression throughout the season. So that's all I have this week. I'll be doing one more podcast next week. We're gonna cover next week's practices, cover next week's full padded practices, and then we're gonna be in the swing of things. Hard Knocks, preseason games. Want to get you some live videos. If you're not following me on TikTok, the Stray Buffalo. I'll be posting TikToks from the Bills game when I go at Soldier Field against the Bears, hoping to get a lot of cool content out to you all as a fan that lives out of town to be able to go rep the boys going to an away game. And showing up for them is important. Also, if you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe. And if you are at all interested in following on TikTok or Instagram, it is at the Stray Buffalo. Thank you all again. Listen, if you're listening to this podcast and you're a fan of another team, support your team. Don't be soft. Put your heart and soul into it, because this is what it's all about, supporting your team and hoping that they win the championship. But don't hope too hard this year, because the Bills are going to be winning the Super Bowl this year. So thank you all for listening. We'll see you on the next Straight Buffalo podcast. Go Bills.